Alright.
That's a wee bit of button sound effect.
Yeah, that was. Alright, welcome to Roll for Effort! I'm back, your host, Jason Scranton. I'm here with Joe and Park, awesome DM and players alike. And welcome to our boat. Tonight we're going to be talking about virtual tabletops and dungeon mastering. And I think this is probably going to spread out maybe more than a week. Like maybe we should talk about the actual hows on how to do this in the future one. But tonight we're going to focus on what is it, the pros, the cons, to compare and contrast against the last two episodes, which were about theater of the mind and terrain DMing. Because I think this is the third new undiscovered form of DM styles, is running the virtual tabletop. Before we get too far into it, though, please take a moment to hit that like and the subscribe button. Click that little bell icon to get notifications on when we're going to post new videos and that kind of thing. We're a non-monetized channel, and honestly, we need your help to grow. Flat out. There it is. It's YouTube, you know what to do. Alright, so holy cow! Virtual tabletop DMing. This is kind of where I have been living in the last, 2 years, 3 years, something like that. And what to say about it? It is great.
Yes.
But let me kick it off. I'm gonna toss it to you guys. What are the pros to virtual tabletoping?
Accessibility.
Yep, that was exactly where I was going first. Accessibility. Because no more do you have to struggle to find a local group for some folks to just sit around a table. Because going virtual, you literally have an entire planet full of people that can log on at home, sitting in their PJ pants, and all jump into a virtual space, and boom, here's your table.
Yep.
And hopefully they're wearing pants.
Yeah, right. Or at least the camera's, chest high.
Yeah. We don't talk about what's below the camera, guys. That's
how do you
know? Nobody wants to see my Snoopy underwear. So. Yes, and the quality of your players skyrockets. Because, guess what? Nobody goes online to find a game of D&D unless they want to play it. Yeah! No more bugging your friends to come join your game, and they're like, okay, I'm going to play because obviously you really like it way too much, but I'm going to play anyway. None of that bullshit. That's all gone out the door. The quality of player goes up. Virtual tabletop is gonna, I swear, it's gonna revolutionize how this hobby works.
It kind of already has started doing that.
Yeah. Yep. Brandon talks about it all the time on the Runehammer channel, the RPG Underground. It is taking hold, and it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to see what comes in the years. Because as people use this technology more and more, better versions of the technology are coming out too, and you've got great online resources. Like if you're into 5th edition's Dungeons & Dragons, I can't imagine doing it today without D&D Beyond. For example.
Right? Yeah. That's a great resource right there. Right. As far as virtual tabletops, I mean, we're here using Roll20, which I have to say is great. It's got a free option. It runs right from your browser. There's no cost really to put in. There are other options like Fantasy Grounds, which I've been told, I haven't personally used it. I know there is cost, but from what I understand, only the GM has to have that cost paid, and players can come in and use their tabletop essentially.
Yeah.
There's other things like what is it called? Arcane, I think, is a newer one that's just come out.
Yeah.
Or recently, within a few months.
I think it's a new but old. It's gotten a big overhaul, but I think it might have been around for a while.
Yeah. There's also, so if you really want full immersive 3D, there's Virtual Tabletop, or Tabletop Simulator, on Steam, which is also a really cool thing. And all of these have, there's a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah.
You start out kind of looking at it going wow, there's so much, I don't know exactly where to start. So they all have this little bit of a learning curve, but once you have it nailed down, it moves like lightning. It's super simple and opens up so many doors.
I forgot about that too. I forgot about the full 3D. It's Murder Hobo has a whole crap ton of stuff that he's put out there. On
Murder Hobo Show is great.
Yep.
Also, if you are some kind of storytelling savant and you have a bit of capital to invest, virtual tabletop really lends itself to pulling in an audience and being able to share your game with the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what we do. I mean, this wouldn't be possible without the virtual tabletop. I mean, flat out. You know what? I take that back. It would be possible, but it wouldn't be as interesting.
Yeah.
You know?
It wouldn't be as seamless, I don't think.
Right. It wouldn't be as seamless. It's kind of like, Joe, you were talking about the Theater of the Mind game, or not Theater of the Mind, the DM Terrain one. But sometimes it's really nice to be able to put something out for your players to see to kind of help guide with all the verbalization of the story.
The campfire.
The campfire, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're doing in the Bad Moon campaign currently. Is more of like that campfire style.
Yeah, and talk about pros. This is the kind of place where you get in almost all of the versions. I'm going to hit a little drop down button here so everyone can see it. So right now I'm showing the ribbon, the DM ribbon here in Roll20. You can create your own, basically, game space, your own room, one at a time for your game, and you can set it up however you want if you're using, a detailed map. And it's set, and your players can leave that space. They can come back. You just move this little player ribbon, and you don't have to worry about resetting it up. You don't have to worry about remembering what it looked like. It is there until you get rid of it.
Yep, and mind you, again, this is Roll20. We're big fans, and this is what we use.
Yeah.
So if you're in Roll20, this is all 100% great stuff. This is how you do it.
Yep. And I'm just going to show off here. So, it could be as low-tech as, if you look at this map here that I drew on the left, right? It's the map isn't populated. There's no furniture, nothing like that. When we played this game, we just did it all Theater of the Mind, because I talked everybody through it while they moved through the space. And then if you look here on the other side, we have this beautiful, detailed out, heroic map. And these maps are not, expensive. You can get, these beautiful, gigantic, high-res maps for, $5, off a drive-thru. Or you can subscribe to their Patreon, and then you get, every one they make. It's just absolutely stunning, the level of detail. I'm zooming in here a lot, guys. You can't tell what I'm doing.
Your screen.
On the graphics, on these maps, and they're absolutely gorgeous.
Also, if you're not an artist and you don't have any drawing chops, there are plenty of resources that you can go and buy on Roll20 Marketplace or through many, many private resources online.
Right. And if you're not a public program like Roll for Effort, you can use as much found art as you want, amongst you and your friends. There's no, the FCC is not going to come after you in your home for sharing, art between, you and your buddies online. That's not going to happen. So it's accessible. It's free. It's the way to go these days.
Right.
I mean, right now, as we're recording this, we're all talking through and using the audio through Roll20. We're using the video through Roll20.
Yep.
You have everything you need.
Just for the reference on showing, back to that accessibility for these pros, I'm in California.
Texas.
Idaho.
Someplace. Yeah, Idaho. There you go.
Right? Ta-da! Granted, this is just the U.S., but I've personally played with people in Germany, in Norway, played with people in Denmark. I played with a guy from Korea, another guy in Japan. I mean, and this is all through just this simple setup. So accessibility is a top thing right here.
Yes.
Another really cool thing with virtual terrain. Which side do you have the camera on there, Jason?
I'm kind of spaced out in the middle right now.
Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and use part of your map, the one that you drew.
Okay.
This little bit right here, hopefully everybody can see that just those bottom rooms just disappeared.
Oh yeah.
The fog of war thing is Park. You're also in as a GM, so it might be a little opaque for you. But the fog of war, you can hide areas that you don't necessarily want your players to see.
Yep.
Like you can chunk those off, and the players cannot see those until you give them permission. They move into this room, boom. They come in. There's a door down here in the south in this next room spot. You can open that up, and holy shit, there's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Now some combat ensues. Do a little bit more searching, and you can open up this next spot. So I mean, it's definitely a cool feature. That's something very difficult to do without using, a cloth or cut pieces of paper individually per room if you're doing this at home on a table. And one of the other fun things, just a quick little spot, is your different tools you have. You can, I'm in the middle of cutting out. You can cut out specific tiny shapes if you just want little bits shown. So like there's just some neat stuff there.
And I want to do a whole session. I think using virtual tabletop gets its own entire using Roll20 probably gets a video maybe 2 or 3. But check this out, guys. You ever wondered oh man, I want an army to throw at my guys. I just don't have enough miniatures at home or pawns or whatever. Well, never again is that a problem.
Copy paste is your friend.
Yeah, you just as many as you want. The accessibility is out the roof. Okay, all right. We spent a lot of time talking about the pros. What's the other side? Because there is another side, as there almost always is. What are the cons?
Learning curve.
Learning curve. Sometimes the internet connection. Sometimes Yeah, I totally faked that choppiness on my connection. Forgive my camera. My camera gets funky sometimes.
Yeah.
So
we haven't had it happen tonight, but very often, everybody's videos will freeze and their audio will freeze up, and then you have to figure out that the other person dropped off, and you have to refresh.
Yeah, so that's an issue.
Yeah.
From the Game Master side, sometimes you get to these moments where you wanna grab this token right here. You're as the Game Master, but oh shit, I grabbed the map. Hold on, let me try that again. Let me grab that guy. Shit, I grabbed the map again. Yeah. So that could be a thing, but again, that's just part of learning curve. And even after you know what you're doing, you're still gonna grab the damn map.
You are. And there are some tips and tricks that we can share with you guys. We will share with you guys in the future on how to sort of reduce some of these problems that we figured out of trial and error and merciless pain and suffering and tears. But
other cons could be the cost.
Yeah.
I mean, it costs you nothing to play at home at your table or at your local game shop, but sometimes there's cost involved, and that could definitely be considered a con. I mean, you spend money on the books, then you're spending money on a subscription, or you're spending money on assets. So sometimes that could I think should and could be counted as a con as well.
Yeah. I think the asset problem is a con for me. The reason I drew this map that's underneath here, it's not just because we're on Roll for Effort and I don't want to use found art, because I respect the artists that are out there, and I'm only going to use stuff that I purchased, like this guy. The reason I drew this is because I had a very specific thing in my mind, and I didn't want to compromise on what my vision was.
Right?
I knew that I was building a spaceship using the mothership system, and so I rolled the dice out and I drew it based on that. So that's a problem sometimes, is you can't find okay, I know exactly what I'm looking for. No, this isn't quite right. This isn't quite right. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look good enough, or doesn't match the style we've been doing so far. The more artistically minded you are, the more it will drive you nuts that you just don't have the resource you want.
The fact that our group grew organically out of the ICRPG Immortal group is a bit misleading for most people, because I think the dynamic that we have with our online campaign is not really the norm for most people who would be playing on a virtual tabletop. I think that sometimes if you get on Roll20 and you post a wanted ad for players. It can be a little bit disjointed getting on a camera on the internet with 5 strangers and looking at each other through a camera and kind of going, "Oh, hey guys, what's up? Who are you? What's your name? I don't know you. I've never met you." And then proceeding to play pretend with one another for 3 hours. Like that can be a little intimidating for a lot of people, right? So
you need a community. This is not a substitute for a community.
Yeah, not everybody has that inside of them. And even like at the table, that can be really intimidating, but at least you're there with probably at least one person that you knew, right? Or like a familiar environment, but this can be a little disjointed for people, I think. Yes. So, I mean, that can be a con too.
Yeah, we're lucky. We're lucky.
I actually didn't even think of that one because of that.
yeah. We're very lucky because we're all part of the Runehammer community. And that's part of that whole quality of players growing up is that you need to find still this will not. Oh man, I think there's a word for it. The Japanese have a word for it. The folks who just sort of like hide and don't want to like see anybody. Well, I'm blanking on that. But anyway, the point is, this is not a social crutch. In a way, it's actually much more socially intimidating because, you're literally going to spend the next 4 hours talking to strangers.
Yeah. There's definitely
from all over the world, from different social structures, from different, so they have different mores and folkways.
That's
that
right.
you don't know what you're getting yourself into.
Yep.
So
I was in a game where somebody actually got really offended. I didn't even know that they were offended, but I found out about it later on because some Japanese stuff had been pulled in, and they were actually upset about cultural appropriation. And I was like, I have never even thought that would be a problem for anybody. But it might. You don't know. So, but the flip side of that is too, you're going to meet people like Joe and Park here who are awesome, and then you'll form friendships, and then you'll have people to play with, and so that solves all that problem. I think in the long run.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I guess going back to the pros, real quick, just another touching off of what you brought up, Park, about the con of strangers that you might game with, or finding people that you don't necessarily mesh with. A quick pro to add is online gaming communities. They're out there. There are some great ones.
Yeah.
There are far too many to list, but finding an online gaming community and getting to know people that way, I think falls into a pro, because then you end up jumping into a game with people that you already know and like, and the expectations are there, and on par with the same thing because you've gotten to know these people.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a little bit of the pro side. Sorry, let's back to the cons. Back to the cons.
No, that's a good point. It doesn't have to be in any particular order. I was going to say another con, like in my mind, is one word for all of you virtual tabletop teams. You'll know what I'm talking about. Furniture.
Yes.
Right. Like you have a map you'll get sometimes that'll be very sparse, and you'll spend a huge amount of time setting up this map that your players may only look at for like 10 minutes, or an hour or whatever. Probably an hour tops in a room. That's my guess.
Right.
You spend because all of these parts, they give them to you in kits. Like you can do whatever you want, and it's that infinite page that might take forever to kind of work up and set out. That's kind of there. That's a reality. Other side though is that you don't have to use. See, we're all describing virtual tabletop and more as a terrain DM, because I think that's kind of where we often work. Here, I'm just going to grab in a random photo if it loads. Eventually. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we are talking about this from the terrain aspect, which this terrain is a whole lot easier to make when you point and click and pull it over than it is at a table. I guess this is another pro. You don't have to spend hours cutting foam or gluing cardboard and painting and waiting for paint to dry, and shit, I made this one too big. It's not to the same scale as the rest of my pieces. I mean, here you just click a corner and drag and resize, and now it's exactly what you need. So like that's a pro.
Yeah.
Another pro, built-in dice roller.
Yep, built-in dice roller, which makes things really fast because everybody knows. And if you have really complicated dice rolls, like I'm going to roll 40 20s, boom, you have all 40 20s done, and you have the total, you know, do the math. There's so much more. There's a lot of nuance that I think we can get into. I just want to touch real fast, you know, before we're completely out of time here, that you don't have to play it from a terrain angle. You can do all of these same things as a DM who is working in a style like this, where you have a photo that you present to, you know, one of your players. And like this is a photo of some of Chuck's, you know, stuff. But you could pull up and you can just use a photo, right? Like we were playing in Joe's game. If you watch, you know, one of the last games, you'll see like a new approach to a farmhouse, and so he just drops a picture of a farmhouse in front of another picture of a field.
Right, and that's still, I guess you could technically call that still virtual terrain. It's just more in a scene style, presenting a scene as opposed to presenting a room to play around in.
It's a landscape, yeah.
Yeah, landscape, exactly. It's more a scene instead of like, you know, like here, we've got an exact room where space matters and distances matter. And this is another great spot. Again, kudos, Jason. That's fucking dope. But this is another great thing where as far as virtual terrain goes, you've got space to move around. You know, up across this top walkway. You've got this showing of depth for the wall. So obviously you got to come around to the stairs. You know, you've got these cool, interesting features in here. You've got another spot down here at the bottom where, I mean, that's a pit, obviously, that somebody's got to cross over. So it's, you know, in that same sense, instead of building all of this stuff, you've got these great images that you can put out to supplement your terrain, you know, for that exact spatial movement thing.
Yeah.
Or like Jason said, you can put down, you know, a straight image. You know, you come across a gate guarded by, you know, two giant dwarven statues. So then that's more on that scene side, but it still kind of counts as a terrain because it kind of, like everything, it helps set that mood of where the players are. And that's, in essence, exactly what the terrain is meant to do. It's to show that semblance of where you are, what the players are doing. And virtual is just, you know, one of those ways to kind of get around some of those difficulties of carving it out if you're not artistic. Like, I would use Jason's art or use art that I paid for, art that I found in a private game, because I can't draw. So my virtual art skills come by taking Jason's awesome stuff.
Yes.
Or taking the other awesome stuff by a lot of other people. Like,
yeah.
But again, it's for that mood, that setting, like that the what and the how and the wheres, I guess.
All right. Bottom line. Park, final thoughts?
My final thoughts on virtual tabletop would be that so I am a habitual DM because I cannot find somebody to DM for me to be a player. And the only way that I can be a player currently with my family situation and life situation and such is through virtual tabletop. So I have harnessed this ability, and that's literally how I found Roll for Effort. That's how I got to be a part of Roll for Effort, and that is why I'm here, and I absolutely love it. Would I like to be sitting at the table with these guys? Absolutely. But as a firm substitute that I am totally fine with, I am sitting here in my living room talking to these guys just as if they were sitting around the table with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Virtual game is definitely great. Likewise, home game was just difficult to find. Everybody moved away. Now my home game is right here on my computer.
Yeah. Timing and schedules too, right? Like we're running over, but screw it. So like timing, right? Like I have been trying to get my homebrew game relaunched, because it happens like every couple of years we relaunch for weeks now, but like nobody can work their schedules out, you know, oh, this weekend's good, that weekend's not good. Man, we just meet every Wednesday night at a certain time, like boom, done, you know? it's a school night, right? It's a weekday, so everybody's got work the next day or whatever, and it all works for everybody.
Right.
Non-schedule problem fixed because accessibility is great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. All comes back to accessibility.
Yeah. I think. Sorry. Oh, this is a con. You could talk over each other really easily because there's delay. I'm speaking now, and Park is actually getting what I'm saying like 2 or 3 seconds later, technically, and vice versa, because it's not exactly a telephone.
Right.
Yeah. So, SwapNet takes over. Okay. I feel like we've beaten this one on a dead horse. Virtual Tabletop is great. You, especially if you're watching YouTube, you should really consider it because you probably have access to a phone, tablet, or whatever. And this will run on just about everything, up to including your smartphone, if I remember the ads correctly.
Another quick virtual thing. If you're going theater of the mind and you don't need all this fancy stuff, there are so many things. Skype, Hangouts, may it rest in peace. Although I think it's still doing some stuff. Zoom. You can run perfectly great theater of the mind without any of these fancy images, just in some voice thing. Discord audio, you could run purely audio. There's a lot of even great channels out there that are doing live plays that are running theater of the mind style, like still, and that's perfectly fine. That's still a virtual tabletop. I mean, sure, it's more voice only. Sometimes cameras are included, but I mean, that's still pulling people to that virtual table. Another pro. Another mode, like, you can go theater of the mind with broad, vast descriptions as well.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done.
We could just keep going, man. There's no limit to the amount of coolness that's available here. So, bottom line, Virtual Tabletop, check it out. Like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Let us know. Let us know what you want to see us cover in a future DM Styles, Style and DMs video, all about tips and tricks on how to be a great DM and the tools you have access to. Again, my name's Jason. This is Joe. Park, thank you so much for watching tonight, guys, and we will see you later. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Yes. It's a tabletop, and such good stuff. We're gonna have to talk a lot more about this.
Yeah, I think a kind of Roll20 primer of, hey, here's some great little tips and tricks is probably a good thing to do.